What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the All In Podcast. I am the League Dad, and I am joined by the one, the only Nighthawk, and we are coming at you with another TeamFight Tactics session. And today's going to be interesting. It's a midweek, or not midweek, but I guess in between patches kind of deal. So this may be shorter than normal, but we're still going to give you all the information about the current meta, stuff coming out on the horizon, because 9.19 we've been talking about being kind of the big patch that's going to turn everything kind of upside down. So kind of just to prepare you again for those things coming up. But Nighthawk, how you doing? How are the games, man? How is life in general? Let everybody know how you doing, man.
Doing good. TFT's a little sleepy right now. Sometimes the meta has sort of stalemated a little bit. So yeah. I'm excited for 9.19. I haven't been playing as much until then because I'm just getting a little bored of what's happening right now. But I'm still very excited. The rest of my life's going all right. I'm waiting on a few things to hopefully slot into place, and we'll see if we can make some big moves later in my life.
Yeah, man, for sure. Yeah, so the whole thing that you mentioned with the stale meta, I kind of have to agree. 9.18 did bring some interesting changes that I do like. We talked about that last week on the patch notes breakdown, but overall, how are you liking the changes with, the new items, the new mystery boxes, just the fact that there's more gold in the economy, there's less champions in the pool to start out with, but then you also have items like Nico's help, and then even just the kind of the drops of carousels, with all full items on maybe it was at the third or fourth one, but all of that. What are your overall thoughts other than the staleness of kind of the comps that we see over and over again, which we'll talk about in a sec, but overall thoughts on just the macro part of the game?
I really enjoy the new item system. We talked about it a lot last week. I thought that it would really bring a lot more consistency to what's happening in the game, so you're not just forcibly waiting on certain items for certain rounds. The gold does seem to be vastly accelerated, and to the point where it's even further past, because they did increase XP costs to sort of counteract that, but I don't think it's nearly like anywhere close to what it should have been. Because some people are getting like 10 or 15 gold off the first round if they don't get any items, which is ridiculous. I like it. I think it's a good thing, but it definitely has sped up games a little bit because people are getting higher levels faster. They're rolling for their units a little bit more. Like you said, we start to see some of these hyper roll strategies getting a little bit more popular.
Yeah, we can talk about that too. Yep, for sure.
So I think that they did a really good job with the item system. I think there still needs to be a few tweaks here and there. But overall, really good job. Good job, Riot.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I do feel like the item disparity, while there may be some, I actually feel that it has been improved a little bit. Like, I don't feel as bad. Like, I don't, like, oh man, I got like 3 items compared to this guy who has like 11. Like, I don't feel like it's that anymore. And again, like even with the extra gold, or even when you get champion drops, you can sell those for extra gold. Like I think the trade-off feels good because it seems like to be a lot of gold. So I don't feel so bad if I don't get a ton of items. But even then, by the time you get into the later rounds, if you didn't get items earlier, it does seem to kind of even itself out. So at least my experience, I feel like the whole RNG aspect of not getting enough items compared to everyone else seems to be fixed somewhat. So I'm really liking it. How you feeling about Nico's help? Have you used it at all? What are your thoughts so far?
I haven't got Nico's help one time.
I'm telling you, I thought it was going to be a little more common just because it seems like it can drop in everything. But I feel the same way.
It says it comes out of every box, but I've only ever seen it come out of the gold box.
Yeah, that's what it says. That's funny you said you only got it once, because in my, I've played quite a few games and I've literally only seen it 2 or 3 times. One game I got it twice. And so like, other than that, like it was very rare for me to get it. I will say that it is a super strong item. I've seen a lot of high elo streamers pretty much when they get it, they usually say, okay, it's GG, because it means that they'll be able to, 2-star some high cost champ, and pretty much solidify their comp. So I like it a lot. Again, it's one of those things where it can swing a game for sure, kind of like spatula. So it is pretty neat. And let's talk a little bit about we'll get into some of the comps that we're seeing overall, but actually, let's talk about that. So I'm seeing a lot of Void Assassin and a lot of Rangers and still Shapeshifters. What are you seeing on your end? Is there anything that particularly annoys you so far?
Pretty much the same. Void Assassin is they don't think it's OP, but it's definitely strong and it's really consistent.
Yeah.
I am seeing a lot of Shapeshifters. I'm getting to the point where it's becoming not quite my favorite comp to go anymore. Just because so many people
I know.
So many people were going for it. It's a lot harder to actually get it. Rangers, I still think are really powerful, especially because they actually buffed 4 knights last patch.
Yeah.
Not ridiculously, but
I didn't think it was a big. I didn't think it was a big buff, but it actually seems to have really impacted the meta. We're seeing a lot more 4 knight comps and even 6 knights with spatula.
I think it's partially due to the fact that Guardians are so hotly contested that it's really hard to get a Pantheon or a Braum or even a Leona.
Yeah.
When it's a lot easier to just go 4 knights because Sejuani is fantastic, one of the best units in the game.
Yep.
Garen is a great early game unit. Mordekaiser gives Phantom. Poppy is an okay unit. Kale, what can you say? One of the best units in the game. All the knights are pretty good.
Yeah, and I think from what I can tell, I think it's kind of like a counter to because they withstand a lot of damage, so it's somewhat of a counter to Rangers, or So with that being popular, knights also 6 knights also seems to be pretty good too, especially if you can get a spatula. And I've seen people turn like Aatrox into a knight, and that sort of thing. So good for knights, because they have been kind of like in the gutter for so long. People kind of meme it, but it's actually pretty decent now, and I think that's nice to see that. You talked about Void Assassins. I think with the Void Assassins kind of comes what you're talking about, the hyper rolling strategy. And if you guys don't know what that is, a lot of high rank players are taking advantage of this, that they stay as low level as possible, no re-rolling or anything like that. No leveling up, and they just basically roll down, I believe at Krugs, to look for any 3-star voids and then get an assassins. And I tried it a couple times, and to be honest, it wasn't that hard to get it. Like, I 3-starred my Cassid. You're almost likely to 3-star either 1 or 2 of those void units, and so it has seemed to be kind of a popular thing where people are just hyper rolling these void assassins. And once you get 6 assassins, obviously you need the spatula and the BF sword to make. I've made Cassidin my assassin, and it's pretty.
That seems to be
it is pretty nuts. Oh my! Put with that, and then IE, and then I don't know anything else. It is ridiculous, and so yeah, I think with that, what's annoying is that hyper rolling strategy. And I actually tried the hyper rolling strategy with other units to see if it would work. Like, I tried to see if I could do it with Shapeshifters. I tried to see if I could do it with the Rangers. It's not quite the same. I guess just with the cost and everything like that, you don't really get the full benefit of it. But for whatever reason, because there's more gold in the system, it does seem like people are taking advantage of this strat. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know we've talked about econ, and again, hyper rolling is making its comeback. What are your thoughts?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's the fact that you're getting a lot more gold from the first 3 rounds, and then also from Krugs. That's probably why people are doing it more. It's also the fact that Cassidin, Kha'Zix, and Rek'Sai are all 2 and 1 cost units, so it's really easy to just get them up to that level 3. And it doesn't hurt that all the other assassins are below 3 cost too. Except for Akali, who's putting Akali.
Yeah, exactly. And you can use Zed until you 2-star.
I've seen a lot of Zed. I've seen a lot of Cassidin with rapid fire cannon assassin.
Oh yes, that's it. Yeah, and yep.
That seems really cool.
That's bonkers.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't know, Cassidin. I felt like Cassidin was sleeper OP for a long time, and then people just started now picking him up for some reason. Probably because all of the gold you're getting, it's a lot easier to go for him early.
Yeah, definitely. for
I
sure.
don't know. Assassins are really weird. It feels like every few patches they just get really strong for
Hmm.
a very short period of time, and then they get nerfed or
Well,
something happens to them.
yeah, I mean, for some reason, I've tried different variations, right, of assassin something, and
Yeah.
because assassin brawlers used to be pretty good, with 4 brawlers, 3 assassins. It's no longer the case because I've been trying to play that and it just doesn't seem to work. You can maybe top 4, but usually you're right on the cusp, and that's not ever a good thing. But Void Assassin definitely seems to be like if you get the 6 assassin with Void, you're almost guaranteed top 2 finish. So to
Yeah.
me, I think assassins, void assassins, are probably the only iteration of where assassins are kind of just stomping. And any
Yeah.
variation, at least from what I've seen, assassin, even like ninja assassin, isn't great.
Yeah.
Assassin, anything else, just doesn't seem like it can push you over the edge. So
I
um,
really wish Ninja Assassin was better. I really like
I
ninjas
know,
as an idea.
yeah,
Um, but even still, like the only assassins that really feel good, or the only ninjas that really feel good as a one of, are Kennen and Shen. Like you don't want
hmm,
to just have a one off Akali and a one off
yeah,
Zed. So,
yeah,
and
exactly,
it's very awkward to be rolling for four ninjas,
yeah,
but only being able to put one ninja in, or else they're substantially weaker.
exactly.
Um, I don't know how you fix
That's
that. I
weird.
guess you.
Hmm.
I just feel like the payoff isn't. It feels like nobles, except for you have to keep your nobles on the bench, and then the
Yeah,
payoff isn't really
isn't
that
that great
great
when you
anyway.
finally get it? Yeah, exactly. That's a
Yeah,
good analogy. I like the nobles. Yep.
I
Yeah.
don't know. It looks like they're buffing it a little bit on
Yeah.
PBE, but not to the point where I think it will be
Hmm.
much better.
Yeah.
They're being cautious though.
Let's talk about Rangers, because I think other than
Oh
Void Assassins, I think Rangers are really good. And reason being is I think that Rangers are so versatile, right? Because you don't necessarily have to go 4 Rangers. You could go 2 Rangers. You can go Ash Varus and then mix up the comp with like Glacial's Knights or even Yordles. And there's just so much variation with it. And with the buffs to Rangers, like we've been harping about, it makes them really, really good. I think Ash now is really amazing. You don't have
Yeah,
to you don't have to just go the quote unquote Korean Ranger build with Phantom buff and static shivs and just pick people off. I mean, there's so much to it now that you can do. In fact, I've seen Ash with Runan's Hurricane. I've seen Ash with like the on hit items
yeah.
like Hush and bonkers.
That's such a great build. Every time I go Rangers and I get some good item RNG, this is
Hmm.
the build I go. I go like a Rage Blade on her,
Yep.
Rune's Hurricane, and then either a
Hmm.
Hush or a Sword Breaker.
Oh yeah.
Um, it feels a lot like the old Gunslinger build that was really
Hmm.
popular a
Yeah.
few patches back, where you just
Yep.
stack like a Cursed Blade or something on Tristana.
Yep.
Um, I like it, and I think that it's going to be really strong until it goes to the next patch, where I think they're nerfing a lot of the aspects of it.
Yeah.
I do think that the only reason it is really strong is because you're procking either Glacial or
Hmm.
Hush or Swordbreaker or whatever your
Over and over.
thing of
Yeah.
choice is, like just a ridiculous amount of times, because you'll have Ash attacking like 5 times a second. I've seen her attacking 5 times a second
Oh yeah.
multiple times. It's not that
Yep.
hard to get to it. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's pretty annoying, and that's the thing too, especially if they have glacials online. I mean, I am constantly frozen and just sitting there as Ash is just beating me away, and
Yeah.
it feels really terrible. But I also think, like you said, 9.19 with the introduction of all the new dodge items, it's gonna be interesting, and that's why we say 9.19. Like, don't get too comfortable in 9.18 because 9.19 will
Yeah.
most definitely shake up things, and things that you think are really good now will they may be good. I'm not saying they won't, but you just gotta. It's gonna be new things. It's gonna be new dynamics, just like with everything. Even this small patch, not small patch, but this kind of middle patch of 9.18 has been pretty game changing as far as macro goes. Maybe the comps might be the same, the synergies might be the same, but the macro, like you said, the rhythm, the pacing of the game, I like it actually. I think the fact that it feels like you're moving faster or that you're doing something quicker. I don't feel like I'm just sitting there stale for a while, and I do think that the pace is pretty nice. So definitely
Yeah.
Rangers is a nice comp because you can go very versatile. I've seen Rangers Elementalists do really well, and
Oh
like I
yeah.
mentioned, Rangers with even Guardians Knights, Rangers with Glacials, Yordles, tons of stuff you can do, and I think that's why it makes it so strong. But other than Rangers, is there anything that we mentioned shapeshifters that is definitely so strong because they didn't get nerfed? Any other things that you're seeing that seem to be pretty strong Nighthawk?
I think demons are still pretty good as
Yeah,
like a 2 or 4 of
2 or
in
4.
most
Yep,
comps.
I agree.
Yeah, you throw
Think.
a Varus in, you throw a
Hmm.
Aatrox in. If you're feeling spicy, you throw a Brandon Swain in or something like that.
Yep,
Um, they're really good in terms of just sapping mana is still really
yeah,
strong.
for sure.
And getting your ult really quick is also really strong on something like a Brand or a Varus. I don't think they're
Definitely.
like a great tier 1 comp, mostly because I think they fall really heavily against assassins.
Hmm.
And they're not great against this Ranger comp either.
Yeah,
But they're really good against the Shapeshifter comp. So it's sort of like rock, paper, scissors,
it is.
where demons are great against Shapeshifters, but they're terrible against Assassin Rangers.
Yep.
Rangers are great against so and so, but they're awful against assassins. Assassins are great against this, but I think they're
Yeah.
bad against shapeshifters. So
Yeah.
who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's kind of like rock, paper, scissors, exactly what you said. And, sometimes I know the good players can do this. I have not figured this out, but it seems like when I watch high elo streamers, they're able to, when the field starts whittling down, they're able to look at the different comps and start making adjustments to what they're going to probably have to counter. And for me, that's really hard. Maybe it's because my econ's bad and I don't really know how to play around that, but that's what I tend to see in really good players is they're able to still stay strong, but also pivot in a way where they can be competitive when it gets to like top 4 and make a run for getting 1 or 2. So those are pretty much kind of the comps that are happening right now. Items that are strong, I'd have to say a lot of the on-hit items because of Rangers are really strong. So Hush, even Disarm, what's the Disarm one? I don't know what it's called.
Swordbreaker.
That's what it is. That's actually pretty good too. Swordbreaker has been showing up a lot because it got buffed last patch, so we're seeing that pretty good. Curse Blade is still pretty good. And then Hurricane and Rage Blade on Ash, again, we mentioned pretty good. I think GA is still pretty good, but I actually haven't seen it as much. I actually think Locket is good, but I haven't seen that as much either. So there's a lot of good items. It's just, it does seem like on-hit items seems to be pretty good. Did you want to throw anything else in that mix or anything I missed?
I really like Swordbreaker just because I think it's so easy to build. Chain Vest and Megatron Cloak are probably two of the. Well, they're good items, but they're not like on the same level as some of the other ones. So it feels like you're always going to be able to pick up one of those two from a carousel.
Yeah, definitely.
If you want to.
Cool. All right. Well, that is pretty much 9.18 right now. Again, next Tuesday or Wednesday, well, Wednesday for sure, probably the 9.19 will drop. So let's talk a little bit of what's coming up ahead. Nighthawk, did you want to take so Nighthawk shared in our Discord a tweet about Misfortune, some of the changes. You guys know we've talked about Misfortune as possibly being one of the worst 5-cost units. So go ahead, Nighthawk, take away and let's find out what Riot is doing.
So let me preface this with a tweet from Riot More. I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it up with me right now. But he said something like, "We're shipping some risky changes to Misfortune and Anivia on the PBE tomorrow. Very excited," or something like that. And I took that to mean, we're finally giving her proper targeting AI because if you aren't familiar with Misfortune, which I wouldn't blame you because nobody plays her. One of the main issues is that she'll ult, I believe, the last target she attacked, which half the time ends up ulting. You just missed it because she ults like way off the screen. She focuses an assassin. She ults behind her. It doesn't hit a lot of units.
Ults behind her.
Yeah, it's not great. No. Which is particularly frustrating because there are so many units in the game that have AI for perfect targeting. Pike and Aurelion Soul always get good ults off, or almost always get good ults off. But then you have Misfortune, and it just feels like she ults wrong. So I'm like, okay, this is the patch. This is when they're changing.
This is going to be
so I log into the PBE the next day to look at the patch notes, and I see Misfortune. I'm like, oh, this is it. I'm excited. Misfortune damage increased on her ability from 900, 1300, 1700 to 1400, 2100, 2800. They are almost doubling the damage on her ability without changing the targeting AI.
Yeah. And what I told Nighthawk here when he said this, I was like, well, that's great if it can hit your target. So
yeah. So this is, I believe, the most damaging ability in the game by far.
Yeah.
It's more than a Karth assault. It's more than a brand, like a fully stacked brand ult. This is like base too, without any AP or without any spell buffs. So this is like such an amazing ult. But I think they could even double this, and Misfortune would still not be great because just so many times she just whiffs.
Yeah.
And it does not feel good to have a unit that can wipe their whole team single-handedly, but just ults the level 1 Kha'Zix that's focusing her on the back. So I don't know.
And I think it's just one of the cases again of Riot like buffing the wrong thing. Like, because what's going to happen is if they, that's the thing. Like, it really,
there's no way they don't know.
They must be going for something different. I don't know. They must be going for something different, or they've watched my misfortune on regular League of Legends and see how I miss my ults all the time. So they're like, oh, we'll do it just like real League. But no, to be honest, like, it just doesn't make sense at all, because again, you could buff those numbers to your blue in the face, but if it's not hitting the right people, why would you risk that when there's so many other better 5-cost units? Like, it really just doesn't make sense. And the thing is, her synergy, what, pirates, gunslingers, they're better gunslingers out there already. So it doesn't make sense. Like, you don't need, she's not like a linchpin in a comp that you absolutely have to have a misfortune. And again, I would much rather have lower numbers and you be guaranteed that it's going to hit the right targets, getting the maximum area of effect damage, because then she would be useful, even if her damage numbers weren't crazy. And again, so that's why I don't know. Yeah, what's your prediction?
I'll make a prediction that they're going to do that. They're going to change her targeting AI eventually, and they'll either not reduce her ult or they'll reduce it by too little, and then they'll have to do a hot fix because of how broken she is.
Yeah,
like they'll probably. If they do change the targeting AI, they'll probably change her ult back to 900, 1300, 1700, which is still a lot.
Yeah.
And then people will like, oh my gosh, this champion is literally just wiping whole teams by herself at level 1.
Yep.
With like a death cap or a Morelos or something like that. And then she's gonna get like uber nerfed again, and it'll be just like Karthus, where nobody really builds them anymore.
Come on, man. This shouldn't be a surprise to you. This is the Riot's MO. This is Riot's MO of buffing things in the wrong places or continuing to show buffs, and then all of a sudden they do one thing that we've been talking about forever, or the community's been talking about, and then all of a sudden it becomes OP, because that's the part that actually needs to be buffed, is their targeting, in my opinion. I don't think we're the only ones either. Again, I know y'all are probably sick of us hearing that, or sick of us saying that, but come on. You guys gotta agree with us at least, right? I mean, we gotta be right about that. But anyways, so that's the change with Misfortune coming. The more damage, we'll have to see though. Watch us be completely wrong and she just becomes like this god tier unit. Then we'll look like dummies. But I think what's most likely going to happen is what you just said. I don't think it's going to do anything until they actually fix that targeting. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about 9.19. We talked about the items pretty much. We talked about them quite heavily. Either it was last podcast or the podcast before. So we won't get into that too much. Just know that there is a new item component coming out that are going to make a bunch of new items, new recipes. Sort of the Divine is going to be gone. So just know that there's a whole slew of items that are going to change the dynamics. Lots of dodge chances, lots of can't dodge, like lots of things where you can't dodge stuff. So it's going to be interesting. But what I did want to go over just briefly is, again, let's go over some of these synergy bonuses, some of the champion changes, because I think that's a little more interesting and stuff that people know already, because honestly with the item things, we don't know what that's going to do to the game. So let's talk about things that we kind of do know, so we have a frame of reference. And let's start with everyone's favorite little characters, the Yordles. Nighthawk, you want to talk about the Yordle changes?
Start with somebody else, because we've been talking about it for a while.
Wait, what? Who were we to who?
Mordekaiser.
Oh gosh, I didn't even look. No. You're right. You know what? No. We need to talk about Mordekaiser. Okay. You take this one for me, Nighthawk. Take Mordekaiser. Yes, this is good call.
We have been talking about Mordekaiser almost every podcast for like a month.
Yes.
This is what they're doing. So on PvE, they are buffing his ult damage from 200, 325, 450 to 250, 500, 750. Wow. That's a lot of damage.
That's a lot of damage.
I don't know if this really... Yeah, I like it a lot. I don't know if this really fixes him.
No.
Because, I don't know. 3-star Mordekaiser is going to hit like a truck though right now. That's like more damage than a Aatrox ult, I believe, or it's similar amounts of damage. It only hits 1 hex, which is a lot less, but hey. He's a
I
good
think
unit.
this is again kind of the same problem with the misfortune thing, right? I don't think the problem is necessarily the damage on his ability. I think he actually does pretty good damage. Yes, it's only one hex, but it does quite a bit, right? I think the problem was that one, he wasn't tanky enough, or two, that he didn't ult fast enough. So one of those things I think needed a change, whether he gets a little tanky so he can ult at least once, or it takes less mana for him to ult. I think that to me was more of his fundamental problem than him not doing enough damage, because I think he will. This is going to be great. Again, I don't know if it's going to make that big of a difference because it's only hitting one hex, so it's not like it's spreading around. And two, it's still going to take him a long time to ult, and his health pool isn't that great. If he's frontline, I think he might die before he even gets the chance to. So I don't know.
You know what I'd love to see?
Yeah.
I'd love to see somebody make like a Spear, Sojin, Assassin, Wraith Blade, Mordekaiser, and just watch people go to town with like his slam. Because it basically early game,
that sounds great.
Every single slam that you do is going to kill.
Kill him, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I was like, I don't know if damage was the problem because he one shots pretty much any unit early on. Maybe later on it'll make a difference. But I do like the way you're thinking, and think of like Phantom bonus too. Like that's gonna be pretty good. And I'm glad. Look, I'm not complaining too much. I don't want to complain too much because at least Mordekaiser's getting some love, right? So, buff his damage numbers. Fine. Give him the misfortune treatment. I don't think that's the correct area of change, but I'm not going to complain because my man finally getting some love. So thank you for bringing that up, by the way. I'm so glad that you reminded me that Mordekaiser was getting changed because that poor unit needed some love. So there's that. Let's move on now to Yordles, the little guys. Basically, their values are changing, right? So 3 Yordles is going to be 30% dodge, 6 Yordles is 60% dodge, and 9 Yordles 90% dodge. 9 Yordles? There is a new item, right? Yeah,
they're adding an item that makes a Unity Yordle. Right. I think that's the only reason they're changing this. It's worth noting that this is actually a nerf to 3 Yordles. I believe 3 Yordles is 35% dodge right now.
Oh, okay.
And 6 Yordles is already 60, so it's a nerf, but I guess with the fact that they're adding dodge items in the game, that they don't want dodge to be too overloaded.
Yeah.
Because like with 6 Yordles, it's going to be really easy for a lot of those Yordles to actually hit 100% dodge with the correct items.
Yeah.
Which is pretty powerful against Ranger comps, against Gunslinger comps, not against Wild, Wild comps.
Speaking of Wild, let's take a quick revert back to the tangent because I wanted to talk about this but I forgot. What do you think of the Wild buff with all the units stacking and not being able to miss? Do you think I've played one game where I did shapeshifters with 4 Wilds, and I'll let you talk first and then I'll give you my thoughts, but what'd you think?
I've only ever had it like really come into play once where I was top 2 and this poor guy went Yordles against me and I was just going, I didn't really realize it because I'm like, man, this guy's his Yordles are not dodging very often. And then I'm like, oh, wait, 4 Wild. Oh.
Yeah, 4 Wilds.
I don't think it was really meant to do anything this patch. In fact, I was even on Mort's stream the other day and I said, somebody mentioned the Wild buff and they're like, yeah, it really wasn't meant to do anything this patch. It's just sort of like get ready for 9.19 because it's going to be a lot more dodge coming in.
Yeah, so do you think this should be pretty good then with all the new dodge items coming out? I mean, I think this is nice.
I will say if dodge ends up being powerful, I think Wild will be good, which is nice. But if dodge is just sort of like another gimmick, then Wild is still going to be
yeah. And to reiterate my point that I made before is I think Wild is good. I think the problem is that there's not enough Wild, like tank Wild units. Like you have Warwick, and that's pretty much it, right?
You have Warwick, and then you got Gnar, who isn't really a tank until he
he's not
ults.
really a tank until he ults, exactly. And so I think they need to have more Wild units that can be somewhat defensive, because Wild in itself, the synergy is offensive, right? And so a lot of times you're teaming them with more defensive type things, so that you're not completely one-sided.
And it feels really bad on really slow attacking units because it scales off of base attack speed. So you can't go like Wild Knights because Mordekaiser has a 0.5% attack speed. So every auto he gains like 1.1. It's really bad with anything that doesn't attack really quickly. So I don't know. where Wild's going to go. I don't think we'll stay on it being the attack speed buff forever, or maybe it will change how it works a little bit. I really thought they were going to go with the fact that it would like double affect your Wild units.
Yeah, that would be nice.
But maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll just have to play it by ear. But I figured I'd mention that because we have been talking about Wild needing some help. All right, let's go to Ninjas. So Ninjas 80, 4 Ninja 80 and AP increase from 70 to 80. So we did mention that Ninjas seem pretty weak. Maybe this brings them up a bit. Who knows? I don't know. It's 10. It's 10 extra, so I don't know. We'll see. Rangers, 2 Ranger chance to increase attack speed lowered from 30% to 25%. So it looks like Rangers are going to take a little bit of a nerf, just because we mentioned already that they seem to be really strong, and not just because of their bonus, but like I said, it's because the synergy. You can, they're so versatile. I think when you have a versatile unit or units, that makes it really good. But not just that, but the fact that their synergy bonus is really strong right now too. That's what makes them OP. So I think tuning this down a bit will be pretty nice. So did you have any thoughts on that? On Rangers?
Yeah, I think like that this is probably the place to hit, because you don't want to hit 4 Rangers because like it's a good comp, but it takes a while to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
So and 2 Rangers is a good spot to hit.
Exactly, and you can't necessarily just put 4 Rangers in once you hit them, right? Unless they're 2-stars, because you'll get stomped over. Yeah, you don't have any frontline, so it really does take until you're like level 7 or something, where you have 3 good frontline units to get them going. So
you want to get like a Sejuani and a Brahmin there at least, and then maybe a Mordekaiser.
Exactly. Okay, they're nerfing shapeshifters as well. Thank goodness. I mean, I love shapeshifters, but gosh, this was a little bit annoying. So go ahead.
This is such a weird change to me. Was 6 shapeshift? Okay, maybe I'm out of the loop a little bit, but was 6 shapeshifter like really that popular? Were people going 6 shapeshifter?
Yeah, because here's what people would do, right? Is that you could play 3 shapeshifter and whatever and be pretty strong, especially if you had items on Shiv or Gnar, right? But then what would happen is when the game started to eliminate people, open up the champion pool, there's less people. People could easily transition in a 6 shapeshifter, even if they couldn't get like Swain a 2-star or whatever. So they could hold. It's easy to get Elise. It's easy to get the other ones. And if you already had the Gnar and the Shiv, like it wasn't that hard to transition to shapeshifters. And so I was seeing people go 6 shapeshifter and like 1 Draven, or something like that. And it was just insane. And now also with Nico's too, again, easier to make a 2-star Swain or even a 2-star Gnar is worth it. So it was pretty good, because it was just an easy pivot from 3 shapeshifter to 6. It wasn't that hard. So that's fine. But yeah, so they're lowering max health of 6 shapeshifters from 120% to 100%. I think that's going to be good, because it is darn near impossible to kill a Shyvana with dragon bonus, or even Gnar with the correct items. Oh my gosh.
I think people are finally, I mean, Shyvana's been strong for a long time, but people are finally getting to the point where they realize how powerful Shyvana is. She's like a hyper carry and a tank rolled into one, which is really weird.
And here's the thing too, is that it isn't that hard a 3-star Shyvana either. Like I've on multiple times been able to do it, and maybe not in the beginning, but once a few people who are out who are also going shapeshifters as well, it doesn't seem like that hard to pick up a 3-star Shyvana in the late game, which is gonna be massive.
I think the hardest part is just getting, unless you're holding on to them, getting the Nidalee and the Jace.
Yep.
Back in the late game.
Yep. And they have increased the chances even ever so slightly when they adjust kind of the champion pool percentages in different rounds. Later game, it seems like even those lower cost ones have slightly higher chance of showing up. So that helps, I guess. You can kind of come back to these units, or if you're going nobles, if you don't have the Garen or the Vayne or something, they may pop up. So speaking of nobles, health restore increase from 25 to 30. So looks like they're giving nobles quite a bit. I think nobles fell out of favor with the past few nerfs that they had been giving it. So now it seems like they're trying to bump it up a little bit. I haven't personally seen a lot of nobles. Have you? I mean, I haven't.
Main issue with nobles right now is that they do very poorly against Void. Because 50 armor and MR means nothing when you're doing true damage. The on-hit life increase seems like an interesting choice for them to buff. I think they're just scared of rebuffing the armor and MR
Yeah, there's like, let's see if we can buff something else. Yeah.
Yeah. It would be interesting if they went for a 2-4-6 approach with
I
nobles.
really want them to do that. I don't know why,
yeah. I think they really like the all or nothing approach.
Yeah.
But I think if they wanted to make it a little more balanced, it would be really interesting to see like a 2 is 1 random ally, maybe it make it a little weaker. 4 is like 3 random allies, or if you're really scared, 2 random allies.
Yeah.
And then 6 is all allies.
Exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong, the 3 bonus is nice, especially if you have like noble knights. I mean, it makes you pretty strong for like the first third of the game, you know, early game. But I think that's the problem, like you said, the all or nothing, because after a certain point, then it's useless until or unless you decide to go 6 noble. So maybe this will do something. Glacials, thank goodness. So the stun lowered from 2 seconds to 1.5. I mean, it seems like when you get stunned, it is forever. The 4 glacial stun chance has increased though from 30 to 33%, and the 6 glacial stun chance increased from 45 to 50. So maybe it's not really a nerf, because they're increasing the chances to do it, but less stun duration.
I think the only thing this really affects is it's a slight nerf to really, really fast attacking units like Ashe.
Yeah.
Because a higher chance to stun doesn't really matter when you're already attacking 5 times a second. So the duration being lower is a nerf to her. I don't really know exactly how glacial stun works. If it works to the fact where it stacks, like if you can apply a stack of stun whenever, then this doesn't really matter. But I think the way it works is that you can't be restunned until after you've come unstunned. I'm not positive about that, though.
That makes sense, because that is kind of the most annoying thing is what I see is like my unit will be stunned forever, and then he just never gets unstunned. So maybe that's what they're trying to fix. Maybe give you a chance to like throw an auto out.
We'll see what actually happens.
Yeah, but maybe you're right. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. Yeah, it's a good point. Good point. Okay.
I think the problem mostly with Glacial is the fact that Ashe is really the only good unit for applying Glacial, which is really awkward. Because like Rom attacks once every 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's true.
Sejuani attacks once every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Olivia, does she even attack? We'll find out next episode.
Volibear good.
I actually have not seen Volibear in a hot minute. I think that he is falling out of favor.
He's fallen out of favor. Yeah. Well, I mean, he was good because he was like the brawler carry before. Yeah, Lysandra. I mean, Lysandra's all right, but I'm not gonna. I don't know. I still agree. Ashe is out of all of those the best choice there to apply the glacial effect. Speaking of glacials, Anivia is the first champion we'll talk about other than Mordekaiser with the changes. So Anivia ability total damage is lowered from 800, 1100, and 1400 to 600, 900, and 1200. If you remember, they didn't touch the numbers before, but they shortened the duration of time that it took, so it was more bursty. So I'm assuming that has become too much of a problem. It's probably killing people way too fast. So maybe they want to adjust the damage numbers so that it doesn't kill them right away. I think it's just trying to find that balance. And then the ability slow has increased from 50, 70, and 90 to 60, 75, and 90. Yeah.
I like that change a lot. Anivia is a really good counter to Rangers, ironically. And she's really good against Gunslingers too. So Rangers are really powerful right now. Gunslingers not so much, but having her as like sort of a tech unit against those comps is interesting. Giving the slow part of her ult instead of the damage part of her ult more emphasis is, I think, a really good move. Because you don't want to make every 5-star unit just about doing a lot of damage. You have Karthus do a lot of damage. You have Misfortune do a lot of damage. Pantheon, I don't really know what he does besides being really powerful. He's sort of just like a jack of all trades. He does a little bit of damage. He does AoE grievous wounds. He does tanky. He does CC.
Does it
but
all, man.
I like the fact that they're giving Anivia more identity than just being AoE damage, which is already being done so much.
It's good. Blitzcrank, this is interesting, right? So the ability damage increased from 100, 450, and 800 to 250, 550, and 850. A 1-star Blitzcrank will do 250 damage. That's pretty big.
And that doesn't include the auto afterwards. The auto afterwards does another 90 damage or whatever his AD is.
That is insane.
So yeah, I think Blitzcrank might be like one of these units where you just want to pick him up early and then just get rid of him later. Because he's really powerful early.
Yeah.
It almost kills a unit early game.
Yeah, and I mean, like, 2-star is okay. Like, it's buffed up 100 damage. You're definitely not going to 3-star, but 2-star is okay. But that 1-star is really great to be like a filler unit. Maybe if you just need an extra brawler for 2 brawler bonus or something like that. I think it's going to be a nice addition to the early game. And he does bring a lot. Displacement, knockup. I really like this change. I think he's going to be very annoying to play against early game.
I'm a little surprised they didn't go for making his 3-star a lot more powerful. I think I know the reason why they didn't. I think they didn't want him to be like basically Phantom, where he just kills a unit off the bat late game. Because your unit still has a chance to do something. If he gets killed, especially if it's a tanky unit. But it would have been really funny to see like people going for 3-star Blitzcrank and just assassinating like something immediately. But
I think
850 is still a lot of damage.
I think the problem is because brawlers got nerfed overall, and so people were picking Blitzcrank up before just to try to get brawlers, no matter who the brawler was. But now that brawlers have fallen out of favor, Blitzcrank is okay, but he just isn't worth enough because he doesn't synergize with anything else other than brawlers, and he's a robot. So I think this will at least. Yeah, I think though this will at least bring him a little bit of usefulness, even if he's just by himself. Again, just one unit, no synergies. Just do damage, displace them, and knock them up. So I like that. Kassadin, so ability mana reduction has increased from 20, 40, 60 to 25, 50, and 75. That's going to be even more annoying, I think.
Yeah, I think this is, to repeat what we said earlier, they're changing Void from being a 3-piece synergy to being a 2/4 synergy. I think the 2/1 makes it so that one random Void unit gets true damage. And then the 4 is just all Void units get true damage. So I think Void overall is going to be a lot weaker early on, especially because you can't get 4 Void units until Cho'Gath or Kaisa. Which is pretty late in the game usually. So it makes sense that they're kind of rebuffing some of the earlier.
That's true. Okay, Katarina, ability damage increased from 40, 60, 80 to 50, 75, 100. Again, I think they buffed the wrong thing here because it takes her way too long to ult unless she has items. So, again, fine, they increase the damage. If you get it off, good for you.
That's a lot of damage.
It is a lot of damage.
That's a lot of damage.
So
can you imagine how strong the tier Katarina build's going to be now?
And maybe that's what it is. Maybe they don't want her to maybe they want her to be strong if you put the, items on her. Maybe for her to be the carry. So if that's the case, then that's fine. But yeah, that's a ton of damage, man. That's a ton. Imagine if she gets Imperial buff too. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think it's like 1125 at level 2 base. Yeah. You throw a death cap on there. That's another. I believe death cap is something like 80%.
Yeah.
So that's like 1600 damage before Imperial buff. That's a team wipe right there. If she gets the all.
That's crazy. Yeah. Might have to try that just to see because she's kind of been under the radar, and so maybe this, and like I said, with Imperial buff too, this might be pretty impressive. I'm actually interested. You have me intrigued, Riot. So I'll give you that. All right, let's go to Kindred. Ability duration lowered. Thank God. 4, 5, and 6. Now it's 3, 4, and 5. This is probably one of the most frustrating things when you're trying to kill a Ranger comp is the freaking Kindred ultimate and just saves all of them. So now the ability duration has been lowered. Maybe give you a chance to because then now you could just CC them until it's over and then finish them off when the ult wears off. Another nerf, I guess, to Rangers.
Yeah, I don't know. This would be interesting if they went the League route where they made Kindred ult affect all units.
That would be awesome.
Instead of just her own. It probably would be too weak or it'd be too weird. But Kindred ult's so wonky anyway. If it doesn't go off, she's worthless.
Yeah.
And if it does go off, she's really, really powerful as long as there's units in there. So, yeah.
Okay, so we talked about Misfortune already, talked about Mordekaiser already. Let's go to Sejuani, one of the units that we absolutely love because of her CC. So her ability stun has increased from 2.5, 3.5, 4.5 seconds to 2, 3.5, and 5. Did I read that right?
Yeah. It's
Oh,
worth
it's
noting that
5. I
versus
gotcha.
versus live.
Yeah.
This is on PBE. So versus
Okay.
live, it's actually going down.
Yeah,
It's
gotcha.
going from 246 to 23.55. So
Okay, so it's
slightly less strong
less.
at 2
Less.
stars.
Gotcha.
And then less strong at 3 stars, which
Ooh,
was
3
were
stars of
people getting 3
Sejuani.
stars?
No?
Yeah, I mean, it's really powerful, I guess, but I don't think it was
Yeah.
worth nerfing the 3-star. Maybe
No.
they're planning on increasing Nico's health or something like games, so they're worried about
Maybe.
people actually getting that. 3-star
Yeah.
Sejuani should be powerful though. Like I feel like
Yeah, that's
why
true.
would
I
you
mean, that's
nerf this
hard.
but leave
Yeah.
20 brand bounce in the game?
I know. Yeah.
Or something
You're
like
right.
that.
Yep. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, her stun is, I mean, when she gets it off, it's game changing. It's such a huge AoE stun. Maybe they're just feeling that it's a little too strong. So I don't think
Yeah.
it's that huge. I mean, it's what, half a second shorter. So we'll have to see. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Shyvana, ability burn damage lowered from 250, 375, 500 to 200, 300, 400. I think this is big. We talked about Shyvana being kind of the best of both worlds, a tank and an offensive beast. And so now they're tuning a little bit of her offense down, which I think is great. If you're going to be that powerful, that strong to kill, or hard to kill, your damage shouldn't be as high.
It's worth noting that Riot is actually also decreasing Dragon Synergy and Dragon's Call down to 75% as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is really funny because Dragon started at Magic Immune and now they're down to 75. And I think people are even saying that they might go even lower. Which is really funny.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think they should do that. Powerful. I mean, the Dragon buff is, I mean, I definitely didn't think it needed to just be straight up immunity. Honestly, I don't know. I think the fact that I don't know. I don't really want to get.
I think what should happen is I think that they should buff it back to 83, and then give sorcerers the tools to pierce through it. Like give sorcerers 50% magic pen.
I like
or
that.
Something like that.
I like that. Yeah.
Because dragons shouldn't feel weak against all magic damage.
Yeah.
Just like you give wild the way to pierce through dodge. So like you give wild a place. Give sorcerer the way to pierce through magic immunity, and give sorcerer.
That's a good point. I really like that. Because if I'm correct, I don't think there's any like magic penetration items, are there?
Not yet. No. I think they're talking about adding them.
Yeah, I actually like that route better. Let them keep their buff, but then make a way for other units to be able to do that. I like that. Riot, please listen to us. We know what we're talking about. All in podcast. Okay. Tristana, ability detonate damage has been increased from 60, 90, 120 to 70, 110, 150. Ability basic attack damage increased from 150, 225, 300 to 175, 275, and 375. So Tristana getting some love here. Maybe because Gunslingers kind of fell out of favor, maybe. So, because early Gunslingers, I mean, Graves is terrible, Lucian is good, and Tristana was kind of like, nah. So maybe they're giving her a little extra love. Now I can see her being pretty decent early.
I think I really like this change because a lot of people when they built Tristana, they basically wish that she wouldn't ult because her ulting sometimes results in like a less DPS than just her
autoing. Yeah.
So I think this is a nice buff in the right direction. 50 damage to level 2 and 75 damage to level 3.
Oh yeah,
it's not going to change the world, but it's definitely going to help.
For sure,
a little bit more, which is nice. Tristana is like basically just the unit you get when you want to put items on there, like you want to get a cursed blade or something, and you don't want to put like those items on your Jinx, because you would rather put like attack speed and stuff on here.
Yep, exactly. So I like it. Buffing the early gunslinger units. Again, like I said, I didn't think there were a lot of good options other than Lucian early game, so this kind of makes it nice. Vigar ability damage increased from 300, 550, and 800 to 350, 650, and 950. This is man, this is pretty big for 2-star Vigar, but even 1-star Vigar. I mean, 1-star Vigar was kind of poop. I think this makes him a little less poop at 1-star, but I think this is really big for 2-star Vigar, because he already does a ton of damage. And I think this is going to be interesting, especially if you put some items on him. So,
Yeah, that's a great
Sorcerer,
idea.
Yordle Sorcerer, I think that might be a new thing. It's not even new. It's just I think
This
that might be.
I think this makes it so that Vigar with Sorcerer buff basically one shots anything,
Yes.
even without being a level above.
That's yep.
Which is cool, but it kind of seems like redundant.
Yeah.
Like I think 650 plus 3 sorcerer buff plus maybe some AP
It's
items on
overkill,
him.
you think?
Yeah, I think that's already massive. Like probably massive overkill for most units. So I don't know. It's pretty cool. I guess it makes his 3-star pretty good against other 3-stars too now.
And if they nerf Dragon Claw and Dragons,
yeah,
there you go.
Well, the thing was, the 3-star Vigar ult would sometimes, but beforehand, when Dragon Claw was 83%, it would sometimes not kill units.
Oh gosh,
because the magic, yeah. But then they changed it from 9999 to 1999. Now it always kills everything.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Little guy getting some love.
Yeah, he's a cute unit because like you want to go for the dream where you give him a Spear of Sojin, Stair's Embrace, and a Rage Blade, and you just have him nuke. It just turns out that most of the time it's better to give those items to a Brand or a Brilliant Soul.
I agree. Maybe this will give another option to, possibly make a carry. But you're right. I don't really see a lot of Vigars because there's so many good sorcerers and there's so many other good Yordles too, I think. So maybe this will help him get some play time. Put him in, coach. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
All right, the last unit is Vi. So ability damage has been increased from 250, 450, 650 to 300, 500, 700. I mean, I guess that's all right. I mean, I think I put her in more for the fact that what she does is she CCs everybody. But that's nice. I mean, that's nice to have. Do you think that this will bump her usage rate up at all? I mean, I think it's already still pretty good.
I like this. I like this a lot because it sort of cements her as like the unit that's not Blitzcrank to go for the backline.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think she was already okay. And I don't think that she was great. She's probably the second best Hex Tech, and Hex Tech really isn't that great right now.
Yeah.
It's sort of just really niche. So it's nice that they're giving her a little love. 50 damage, it might end up being big because it does affect a lot of units instead of just the one that she's attacking. It will affect all of the ones she's weaving in between.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. Maybe this sparks some Vi carry builds for the mid game, and then you sell her and transfer those items to somebody else late.
Yeah, good point. And again, like you said, Hex Tech has kind of gone down in play rate, and then Brawlers has also gone down in play rate. So I haven't really been seeing too much of Vi, but I think Hex Tech may make a comeback with the new items. I think people just not wanting to have to deal with that. We'll have to see, though. That's kind of my mini prediction for 9.19. But that's pretty much all the changes that are coming up. Remember, guys, lots of stuff happening next week with the patch. So enjoy the meta now because everything will change. Nighthawk, did you have any last comments or words of wisdom for our listeners and viewers before we head out?
Don't let the people tell you that Void Assassins is too broken. It's strong, but I think you can beat it.
Yeah. And look, if everybody's trying to do it, that means there's more champions for you to pick because everybody's going for the same thing. Don't follow the meta blindly. However, I will say that if you do a quick scout, just take a look around, and you're also getting Void Assassin use, get it because it is a free win if you happen to get it. Just don't try to force it just because it does tend to perform well if you can get it online. Okay, well, that's going to do it for us today. If you guys have any questions, comments, suggestions, feedback, please email us at theallinpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you, or you can tweet us at theallinpodcast. One more request I have for all of you listening out there. If you're on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, wherever you're at, do us a favor and leave us a 5-star rating. Leave us a review if you're feeling generous. It does help us get listed higher in the directory, and spread the word. We want to continue to grow this. We want to continue to make good content for you guys because it's something we enjoy, and we know it's something you enjoy. And so let's make this thing as big and as best as we can. But thanks again for listening. Nighthawk, thank you for being here. We will be back again next week to discuss the new patch and all the chaos that's going to come with it. But until next time, enjoy your climb on Summoner's Rift or Teamfight Tactics. Try not to be too toxic, and we will see you all on the next episode. Peace.